Today I would like to talk about our road to efficient production, and in this kind of bumpy and full of potholes, we found some way to make our production kind of effective. And for that we are using mainly GPUs, like we went full GPU pipeline very early on. And before I will actually talk about how we work, what we do, I would like to play this short demo reel of what's actually possible with GPU and AI. So the Dabarti started in 2009, and it was like my just name for freelancing. I was alone producing some videos in my flat, but I wanted to create better animations, and the best way to do this is just to find the right people. And I want to give a huge applause to the artists that work with me. And those are awesome people, and we are 4 artists in our core team. We are all generalists, and we can do everything from modeling to the animation and composing. We also hire some freelancers to help us with some heavy modeling. And the core of our business is already mentioned in this stock video production. I got this idea very early on when I had a bit too much time between projects. I wanted to fill it up with something, and I wanted to experiment with some short, different type of animations. So I started creating those for different Microsoft agencies like Adobe Stock, Shutterstock, On5. Maybe some of you already use them. And those agencies give you access to enormous database of clients. They sell it to many different studios and artists as well. And on the bottom there are some different companies that use our videos, like HTC use it for first headset commercial. And I often stumble upon our videos in different commercials and documentaries. And over the 8 years, we created 3,500 videos, and this is around 1.5 million frames, and sold many copies. I'm not really aware where they are being used because it's a royalty-free Microsoft business model where someone buys it and uses wherever please. To make the work a bit more efficient, everything what we create from scratch in our studio. We don't buy models or assets from third parties. And because we own those models, we also sell them on TurboSquid. And so if someone needs it, can also use it for production. On top of that, a little bit of CGI service, but this is not our main source of income. What I really want to talk is what started in 2015, when we actually started testing first GPUs in our production. and we got a couple of GTX 970s and with 4 gigabytes of memory. It was quite a huge milestone with those desktop consumer grade GPUs that with 4 gigabytes of memory we finally could create a bit heavier scenes, and those were also very fast. So after testing a couple of them, we bought a few Titan X 12 gigabytes to make it to be able to fit even heavier scenes on them. So after the initial tests, I quickly figured out that we can output many more videos without replacing our whole render farm, without buying many new nodes. So we decided to switch to GPU rendering fully for all the videos, all the commercial work. It was around VRA RT 3.3. It had some issues, but with constant work with chaos group and reporting, those issues were solved. So in early 2016, there was another problem that I had to work on. It was a good problem to have. We started creating so many videos a week that it was very tricky to manage them. And at this point, I started building a different pipeline for our production, with the GPU production in mind. So I introduced Deadline and Shotgun to manage all the assets a bit easier. And so on, at the same time, we started creating better videos, like bigger scenes, and with 3.5 version of the ART, we created this short movie, Xmas. It was our first, like this short animation we did, besides the stock production. So later on, that I developed a bit more, we started pushing our shading even further and so on. But what's interesting is that in late 2017, we started using VA Next Beta from the first versions. We are a bit crazy with this because every time a new nightly version of VA comes in, it pops up in a download, so we grab it, we install it, and we install it in production. That's why Cloud on yesterday we suffered a lot, and we had a lot of issues, but ultimately, having those issues and reporting them back to Chaos made our life easier. And the engine kind of get tailored for our needs. All of our workflows now are supported in VA GPU, and it works great. So because VA Next got also faster, we bought many more GPUs as well. In 2018, we decided to switch our production to 4K rendering, which is another milestone. That all of a sudden we have to generate 4 times more pixels. There were some issues with network or whatever that we had to solve, but I'm really proud that we are now able to output 20 clips per week in 4K with 4 people. And I would like to play this short demo reel, which consists only of those videos we created in the past 5 months. So during the next part of my presentation, I want to talk a little bit more in depth how we were able to produce so many clips in such short time. And first of all, in the most important part, as I already mentioned, we are harvesting the power of GPUs. And the reasons for that are few. The first one is probably most important for a small studio, and it's about rendering cost. I did some calculations last week to estimate how much it actually costs to render one frame with VA GPU Next. And compared to, for example, AMD Ryzen, which is, I would say, very cost-effective CPU, and rendering on GTX 1080 is around 4 times cheaper. What's also interesting is that even in a high-end professional market, the difference is even bigger between Intel, for example, Xeon and Beta Quadros. Even GP 100 is cheaper than rendering on AMD Ryzen. And I know this because I take those kind of tests very seriously. I estimated based on not only render node cost, because it's just a part of overall frame rendering cost. I also add up licenses cost, running cost, because you need, with more nodes, you need more server, you will most likely need a bit someone to maintain the rendering nodes. Also, electricity costs will be higher. So all of those little estimates are there in this rendering cost. And it's very important to mention that because you can put like 4 or 6 GPUs in one render node, the computing density is very high. You don't need so many render nodes in your server room, so you save up on cooling, you save up on space as well. And it was super easy for us to like upgrade our machines. We are still using around 5-year-old workstations. We're just swapping the GPUs every 1 or 2 years to a bit better one, adding some memory, and it's perfectly good workstation. We don't care about CPU at all. So for the engine of choice in our production is actually was VA, I think now it's VA GPU, and with version next of VA, we have seen some huge improvements in rendering speed. I tested this on 10 different scenes we created in our pipeline. And on the left, you have VART 3.6, and on the right, you have VA GPU Next. In many cases, rendering got just twice faster. And if you look in the details, it's getting even more interesting that though in this example, the render took only a couple of seconds faster, it also got so much cleaner. And this is thanks to adaptive DOM light. You probably heard about this on a different talks already. It makes it very, very clean. You don't need any portals in your windows. It just produces very clean image very fast. In other cases, it's just faster. It doesn't render really differently. It's pixel to pixel the same results, but you get, instead of 5 minutes, it can render 3.5 minutes. This is already on top of some improvements that were seen in VART 3.5. And adaptive DOM lights, adaptive lights, back then improved rendering speed from, in this example, from 2 hours to 10 minutes. So that's why we are able to create so many shots now. If you're not familiar with VA GPU, I want to share some new things that are kind of important for me, and one of those is new simplified UI. And personally, I know that VA very well. I worked with it for many years, but artists sometimes are confused what kind of option they can use. And in new version of VA, the UI got much simpler. There are just a couple of most used options you may want to change, but actually the defaults are perfect. I would say that if you are working with RT, so with the GPU, all you need to change is noise limit, just to set up whatever quality you would like to get, and that's it. Interactive mode got much better. There's support for background noise, and displacement uses much less memory. In some tests, it's more like, previously it used 200 megabytes of memory, and now it's using like 10. It's much more effective. You can zoom in, and you see a very nice detail there. So the new hair shader, it's looking okay from the distance, but if you start looking closer, you can see that each of those strands, it has like this depth, and the light scatters outside and inside of the hair, and it's looking really good. And this feature is kind of important in my opinion, is that previously we've seen that some feature appeared in VRA Advanced much earlier than in VRA RT. And this one actually was added to CPU version and GPU at the same time. As well as this, which is metalness. It's new option in VRA material that may be very handy for people who are used to work with PBR shaders and textures. It will be easier to import your assets from Substance, for example. And we use Substance quite a lot in our production. Glossy Printer as well improves the quality of GTR VRDF. This is something I was pushing for a long time. I really wanted to have volume fogs on GPU, and since they improve the look quite heavily. And because we don't actually do any color grading and post-production with our videos, they are straight from VRA frame buffer to save time. This kind of effect can add very nice feel and look right at the render time. On top of that, there's a very cool feature of rendering volume grids and XMD. It was super fun to simulate this. And of course, the probably biggest limitation of GPUs currently is the memory. You may not be able to render every scene on GPU, but for us it was not as crucial, since we could scale down what we wanted to create, and as GPUs get progressively better, we could create better scenes. But the on-demand textures in this case, it's 370 textures, out of which 200 are 6K, and close to 350 million polygons. And this scene actually fits on 8 gigabytes of memory. So it's possible to even put a lot of textures and still render it on consumer GPUs. You may, if you know our work, you probably know that we are using a lot of procedural texturing. And I love this because it gives this huge control over the detail. And you can create shaders that are very lightweight. For example, this one takes only 200 kilobytes of memory on GPU, and it consists of multiple noises. There are several layers of smaller and smaller noises there, and the resolution of this material is almost unlimited. You can just go in there, look at the planet in the depth, roll back, and it still holds up. So, besides the GPU usage and VRA Next, we use Shotgun and Deadline in our pipeline. And I also write some custom tools to help connecting everything together. If you're not familiar with Deadline, it's a render farm management software. You send your scenes to it, and it manages, scatters them over your network to different nodes and renders it But it is cool, it's quite complicated. And I didn't like this complexity too much, because if you show this on the left is a submitter from deadline. If you show this kind of submitter to the artist, you may get like instant brain shutdown. Like, this is scary. You have so many options that you don't need and you don't care about in your production. So on the right is a submitter that I wrote, and it consists only of basic options, like priority. You can select if you want to run on GPU or CPU, if you want to add some Phoenix simulation, for example. And at the end, it all lands in a shotgun. I added this because I want to show how our renders look before composing stage and after. The only difference is the noise. And it may be actually hard to see from the distance. And what's interesting is that the composing stage at our studio looks like this. Once the job is added, we just run one script that denoises the results. After they are denoised, they land in a shotgun, and we can review them. If everything works well, if there is no animation bugs, it's approved and it goes right to the Microsoft agencies. We use shotgun as our shots database, and we can review all of our currently produced shots in here. I can review, as I said, the conversions. And it is accessible from any place, so I can log in on this laptop and review everything wherever I am. You can draw over the pictures, add comments. And the artist gets a notification that there's a new fix needed for this shot. We also use it for keywording our videos, because before we send it to agencies, all of those metadata has to be prepared early on. There are some other scripts that I wrote. This is one of the earliest one they developed for baking those complex shading nodes to simple V-Ray material. It just uses texture baking of V-Ray and maps it down to this all diffuse maps, reflection, glossiness, IOR. And the results match before and after, but in some cases it's a bit faster to render. But what's most important is that it's much easier to export those assets to different software and also to game engines. This is also a small tool you may be familiar with. It's a light assistant lister that helps with aligning the light for your models. You can quite interactively create your lighting with V-Ray GPU. And because V-Ray GPU is highly interactive, you want to have quick access to the position of the light. So I decided to write this tool that lets you point a piece of geometry, and the light will be exactly aligned to have the highlight on this piece of geometry. So we can light up some basic studio shot in less than 5 minutes. You can use it. It's a free on our website.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
This script is free. If you want to use it, it's available on our website. It works with both V-Ray and Corona. So. And there is another thing that was a bit harder to do. And I wrote this small tool in Python to help us with using photometric stereo to capture highly detailed surfaces. And I wanted to push our shading to a bit higher level. And I always was fascinated about those tiny details in different surfaces. So this tool allows me to capture all those small bumps, small imperfections of the surfaces, and outputs not high quality normal map as well as displacement to achieve this kind of results. The way it works is that we take a number of photographs from different angles of our subject, and there is a light calibration for the position of the light. We use this data to generate those maps. This is how it looks. The scanner itself is quite simple. As you can see, it's supported by 3ds Max. And underneath there's this big light that we turn on at some point, especially for the leaves to capture the translucency. And I want to showcase how it looks actually in motion. This is the project done with many of those textures. So, in this one, many of those textures were captured with the stone, but also we use a lot of procedural shading. Like the knife is fully procedural. There is a noise with some matte gradient ramp that helps me with this kind of results. And the cork on the left is fully procedural. There's zero texture there. And that's the same with the bone and sound. So we mix many techniques to get this kind of results. And especially we really like to have those shaders highly detailed that we can zoom in and see how it looks up close. We may be overdoing on depth of field, but I like it. And the last project I want to showcase is Bugs Theater. And it's kind of special for me because it was very, very fast and I liked the results. I'll play a video now. This project started with that render. We did it as one of the first GPU shots back in 2015. Client saw this picture on our website and decided, okay, I need some high quality insects for my project. First of them was this bee. We entered this display before the client. He said, okay, I love it, I take it. It rarely happens. And after that, the client asked us, okay, can you make 5 more insects in like 2 weeks? I said, yeah, we can. I didn't know if we can. But we were able. The guys at Dabarti did an amazing job with modeling and shading on all of them. And those are some really bad insects from Australia Like this is REDBACK spider. There's a meat ant that can just eat through your meat, which is scary. This guy, well, we don't have to talk about his job because it's a ladybug. It's a bit different than the European one. And there is this guy, which is also kind of fun. After that point, we decided that those insects are a bit too aggressive. So we did a paint job and created the European versions of them. We did also experiments with animation, but because we wanted to finish this, those renders in like 2 weeks on top of the 2 weeks of modeling, we decided that those animations don't look that well. Some early life cycles. So after modeling of those insects, we went to scout for some nice pictures in the forest. We live nearby some very old and nice reserves, and we went there. We took some pictures for inspiration, and we found this tree stump, which I felt was quite interesting. And at this point, I never tried photogrammetry, but I knew what was the idea. So I took out my phone. I took like 100 or more pictures of it. I didn't know how much is enough, so I probably overdid it. And then I used this software called reality capture to get this kind of nice detail. And the results were quite good. It was a good start for the hero. And early on, I always try to render something that makes me feel good, because if you work with just grayscale models all the time, it just gets bored. So those are like first tests with it. And we kept developing this idea further, adding more objects, playing with the position of the camera. This is an old ladybug. Different shots, even more. We outputted many different versions every night, and then we chose which looks best, resulting in this kind of scene. It's one of the heaviest shots we did, because all of those insects are in this place, and the leaves are very heavy geometry. Everything is highly detailed. Here I'm using the Dabarti capture texture to just push up the mushrooms. It was kind of surprising. It was great. And we test our assets in different lighting conditions to make sure they will work in most situations. Also rendering some nice values in there. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, or I will be around. Okay.
The denoiser script in Deadline, did you write that one?
Yeah.
How much is it?
Sorry?
I was just... one of the most difficult problems in GPU is the memory. You talked about it a little bit. Can you explain a little more how you managed to...
Oh, yeah. The easiest way is to just turn on demand textures if you have a lot of them. But we early on we decided to go with some lightweight assets. We most often use tailored textures for our models, and then for example we use different masks for blending that are kind of low resolution, but this low resolution mask brings up for example, dry matter, high quality texture underneath. So overall the asset looks great in a detail, it's very lightweight. So we try to do that, like we try to optimize our assets at the modeling stage. And it may be a bit of hassle, but if you think about this, that it makes your life much easier, both on your scenes are getting smaller, they're quicker to save, easier to work with. It's possible to like improve your workflow overall and build it on GPU as well.
How do you decide what subjects to cover for stock animation?
It's most commonly based on the recent sales, but very often we just pick a subject on random and decide what kind of nice shot we can make. This is one of these we don't want to copy whatever is on those websites because there's a lot of content. We want to create something that is unique because unique things will sell. So just okay, we want to have something that looks good.
How have the bugs done?
Sorry?
How have the bugs done as stock images?
Is Bug Theater popular as a stock?
Oh, no, this was not stock.
Ah,
This was not stock because it was done on top of the client's work. So it's like a personal project. And we just had to do it in 2 weeks. That's all the time I had. And actually, I wanted to finish it before the SOA academic last year, so I didn't have much time.
How many GPUs do you use in your workstation computers?
In workstations, we usually have one GPU for rendering and one GPU for viewport. And the one for viewport is not so powerful. And in render farms, we have nodes with 4 to 6 GPUs.
So you're not using 4 or 6 cards in one system on your desktop?
No. Because you don't need that many GPUs to set up your lighting. We work on a small resolution, we get the fill right, we check the shading details, and this with interactive mode is very fast to work with. Then we just send it to render farm and make the heavier task on the limits. So that's it, I think.